Welcome to our YouTube channel. It all began on a bone-chilling November night in 1974 in the quiet town of Amityville, New York, the kind of town where people left their doors unlocked, where neighbors smiled and waved, and where evil was supposed to be something that happened somewhere else. But that illusion was shattered forever when the DeFeo family was found murdered in their own home at 112 Ocean Avenue. She began having vivid nightmares of the DeFeo murders, each more graphic than the last, waking up screaming in the middle of the night. As he moved from room to room, splashing holy water and muttering prayers, he entered the sewing room upstairs and froze. He went downstairs and found the front door wide open, snow blowing in. As he closed it, he heard footsteps running up the stairs. But the legend remains, the chilling details, the mass murder, the demonic presence, the whispers in the dark. It's said that trauma lingers in places, that blood stains more than just floors. Some believe the Lutz family made it all up for money. Others believe the house amplified their fears into something darker. But even skeptics can't explain the photos, the timing, the physical evidence. One thing is certain. Something happened inside that house. Something beyond reason. Something evil. George and Kathy Lutz passed lie detector tests. The priest remained silent for years, haunted by what he experienced. The Warrens continued to warn people about the house until their deaths. And for those who lived through it, the memory never fades. It claws at their sleep, it waits in shadows, and perhaps it still waits inside 112 Ocean Avenue, behind those windows that stare like eyes, watching for the next family to step inside. So if you ever find yourself driving through Amityville, and you pass a house with curved windows and a strange silence surrounding it, don't stop, don't get out, and whatever you do, don't go inside. Because some houses aren't homes. Some are traps, breathing, watching, waiting, for the moment when you're most vulnerable. The Amityville house isn't just haunted, it's hungry. Subscribe, like, share, comment for more videos. Story Nest AI. He followed the sound to Missy's room, where he found her sitting on her bed, eyes wide, whispering to Jody. The room was icy. He grabbed her and turned to leave, but stopped. Something was standing in the hallway. A black, shadowy figure, tall and formless, blocked the path, its presence oppressive and suffocating. He stumbled backward, holding his daughter, and as he did, every door in the hallway slammed shut at once. Kathy screamed from the master bedroom. George rushed to her, finding her sitting upright in bed, tears streaming down her face. "It was here," she sobbed. "It touched me." They gathered the children and huddled in the living room that night, too afraid to sleep, watching the front door unlock and open again on its own. They heard heavy breathing, saw shadows slither along the ceiling. The fireplace roared to life without a match. The air smelled like sulfur. George began to feel the presence crawl over him like a living thing, pushing into his chest, his thoughts, his mind. A powerful sense of dread washed over him. He later described hearing a deep, guttural voice growl, "Get out!" The Warrens visited the house, and immediately, Lorraine felt a suffocating presence. In the basement, she claimed to see a dark pit, a vortex of pure evil. She clutched her crucifix, eyes wide, and whispered, "This house isn't." Their psychic team took photos during a late-night investigation, and one of the images captured what appeared to be a young boy with glowing eyes peering from a doorway. Despite no child being present at the time, the Warrens concluded that the house was built on a gateway to demonic forces, possibly linked to Native American burial grounds or occult rituals performed on the land decades prior. But even they warned the Lutz family to leave immediately. And they did. On the 28th night, the family fled in the middle of the night, leaving behind all their furniture, their clothes, even their food on the dinner table. They never returned, so loud and threatening that he stumbled backward, feeling as if something had slapped his face. He developed blisters on his hands and left immediately, refusing to return. Later, he told George over the phone that the house was dangerous, but each time they tried to talk, static would flood the line, or George would hear screams echoing through the receiver. The paranormal activity escalated rapidly. Doors would slam shut with such force, they cracked. Windows were shattered from the inside. George and Kathy witnessed swarms of flies appearing out of nowhere in the dead of winter. Black slime began oozing from the keyholes. There were cold spots, disembodied footsteps, and foul odors that came and went. The family would hear a marching band playing downstairs, only to find the living room empty. Kathy saw a demonic face in the fireplace glass. George heard chanting in Latin coming from the basement, though no one else was down there. One night, she claimed she was pushed out of bed by an invisible force. Another time, she swore she levitated off the mattress, paralyzed in midair, unable to scream. The children became withdrawn, quiet, and afraid to be alone. Missy, the youngest, began talking to an imaginary friend named Jody, who she said was a red-eyed pig that could change shapes and float outside her window. George saw the creature once, a pig-like demon with glowing red eyes staring in at them from the second-floor window. But when he ran outside, there was nothing there. Missy told her parents that Jody warned her not to trust them, that bad things would happen if they stayed. On one occasion, Kathy walked into her daughter's room and found all the furniture moved, her rocking chair spinning on its own. The crucifix on her wall had turned upside down. Ronald DeFeo Jr., the eldest son, confessed to brutally murdering his father, mother, 2 brothers, and 2 sisters, each shot execution style in their beds with a .35 caliber Marlin rifle. The most disturbing part: none of the neighbors heard gunshots. All 6 victims were found lying face down, with no signs of a struggle, no screams, no evidence. They even moved in their sleep. Ronald would later claim, in a voice devoid of remorse, that he heard voices in the house commanding him to kill, voices that told him if he didn't obey, he would be next. The news sent shockwaves through America, but while the murders themselves were horrifying, they were only the beginning. 13 months later, in December 1975, George and Kathy Lutz bought the house for a remarkably low price, unaware they were stepping into one of the most terrifying real-life hauntings in U.S. history. The house was beautiful from the outside, large, elegant, sitting peacefully along a canal, with those iconic quarter-circle windows on the top floor that looked like wide, watching eyes. George and Kathy moved in with their 3 children, Daniel, Christopher, and little Missy, along with their dog, Harry. From the first night, George began to feel something wasn't right. He described a strange heaviness in the air, a chill that crept through the house, no matter how high the thermostat was turned. Kathy tried to shake it off as winter weather and stress from moving, but within days, the family's world began to unravel. George started waking up at exactly 3:15 a.m. every morning, the same time. Ronald DeFeo had committed the murders. Drenched in sweat, hearing banging sounds, whispers echoing down the hall, and the flickering image of a dark figure standing at the foot of their bed. The family dog refused to go near the basement, growling at something invisible, tail between its legs. One morning, George found the dog nearly strangled by its leash, hanging over the basement stairs, trembling. He began to feel sick, drained of energy. His appearance changed. His face grew pale, his beard longer and wild, his eyes hollow. He stopped shaving, stopped going to work, and spent most of his time chopping wood for the fireplace, claiming the house was too cold. Even though the heat worked fine, Kathy's experience was equally horrifying. She would wake up covered in bruises and scratches, with no idea how they got there. Desperate for answers, the Lutzes invited a priest, Father Mancuso, to bless the house. Then came the night that would change everything. George awoke again at 3:15 a.m., shivering. Unable to endure another night, they called Ed and Lorraine Warren, famous demonologists who had investigated similar hauntings. The Amityville house still stands. New owners have come and gone, some claiming peace, others reporting strange occurrences.